Hello and welcome back to Lately Fashionable. I am leaving for Hawaii in 10 days, which means I have a little over a week to make a 1940s playsuit. Now, I have this pattern from mrsdepew.com. It is a reproduction of an actual 1940s pattern for a playsuit, and it has 4 different pieces, which you can then mix and match to form different outfits. And I've been dying to try it, and I have so many exciting options that I want to make. First of all, the pinafore dress. I love it in the stripes, so I just had to have a striped fabric. And I have this set of cotton sheets that I think would be really, really cute. And that does just so happen to coordinate really nicely with this linen petticoat that I bought at Colonial Williamsburg for the fabric. So I want to make the short sleeve shirt to go under the pinafore dress from that linen. I think that will be really cute. But I'm probably not going to make that version of the playsuit for this trip because I really want shorts. And I have this cobalt blue linen, also a Colonial Williamsburg petticoat, which I think would be really cute to make the shorts from. I don't think I have enough to also make a short sleeve top from it, but I definitely have enough to make some kind of bikini top, basically. And this is a true vintage pattern, not even a reproduction. As you can tell from the envelope, it's very sadly falling apart. You can also see it is a size small, so if I do try to use this pattern, I will need to size it up significantly, which is going to mean mock-ups. But I think having a top from this and matching shorts would be really adorable and really fun to wear. Also, I can make a coordinating top from this striped linen, which is actually a pair of pants that I ripped when I was climbing a tree. Don't wear linen pants and climb a tree. Don't be like me. I loved these pants, and I was very sad that I destroyed them, but I think the fabric can have a new life as a cute halter top. And who knows, I might also have enough fabric to make maybe a cute little pleated skirt. We'll see. Probably not for this trip. My priorities for this trip are number 1, the shorts, number 2, at least one top, either the matching blue or the coordinating stripe. And if I have time, both, that would be great. I also have this really beautiful quilting cotton fabric in shades of blue and purple that I think would coordinate nicely with the shorts, so I could also make a top out of this. And I'm considering, because I have quite a bit of it, I probably bought it to make a dress originally. Let me see how much I have. 1, 2, okay, so just over 2 yards, like 2 1/4, 2 1/3 maybe. So if I did make a dress from it, it would need to be a short and tight dress. But I could make a coordinating top and skirt and get the same effect of an outfit, just not in dress form. Actually, hold on. I do have this pattern, which I can't find the pattern envelope for it right now, but I did just check and I have all of the pieces, and here's the line drawing. So you can see it's a really cute dress that has this little cutout, but I could potentially make it as a top and skirt, and then I could mix and match it with the blue shorts and the blue top. That could be fun. I do see I have it only up to size 14, so I will need to size it up. So once again, I'll probably need to make a mock-up. This is going great so far. So that will be a stretch goal, and if I don't make it for this trip, I will still make it for this summer. There are just so many cute vintage looks for summer that I have not yet explored, and I'm really excited to dive into them. So without further talking to the camera, let's get to it. Okay, I have gone ahead and cut each of the pattern pieces to the largest size line on each piece. I never trim away the excess sizes on multi-size patterns because I might change size, I might want to make the pattern later for somebody else who is a different size. I want to have all of the information intact. So when I'm working with a multi-size pattern and I'm cutting a size smaller than the largest size, which I need to measure myself and figure out what size I'm doing here, I will just fold along the cutting line, which works great for straight lines, which this pattern does have a lot of. For the curved pieces, like for the crotch seam, I will need to be a little bit more creative, but I can either clip in and fold like tabs, or sometimes I can float the pattern paper above the fabric and cut underneath, following the line. It depends on the angle, the thickness of the paper, and my skill level at any given moment. But before I do any of that, like I said, I need to take my measurements and determine which size I'm cutting. It also says, pin the pattern pieces together and try on. Make the necessary alterations for your figure in the paper pattern before you lay it on the material. So I need to try on a paper version of this pattern, which I don't think I'm going to do on camera, but I do think is a good idea. It's going to save me the step of making a mock-up, which I do not want to do. I don't have time. And I generally trust pattern sizing in especially these smaller independent reproduction pattern companies. So like I said, I'm going to take my measurements and then fold along the lines that I plan to cut on, and then take in a 1/2 inch seam allowance from there with pins and try it on. And try not to give myself a paper cut or pin scratches. This is going to be fun. Okay, so according to my measurements, I'm a size 42, and this pattern goes up to 44. I'm kind of thinking I might just cut it at size 44 and use 5/8 inch seam allowances instead of 1/2 inch seam allowances. I think that's what I want to do. That would be just so much easier in general, and I can always adjust from the seam allowance. Okay, let's do it. Well, that was interesting. I did try it on. It's of course one pant leg. It's also very stiff because it's, you know, paper. But I did not cut or scratch myself, so winning. I think it's gonna fit. I think it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it out now. Okay, I should probably start sewing the shorts together, but I got really excited and I wanted to see if I could fit one of the 1940s bra patterns on my remaining fabric, and I think I can, and so I want to try it out. But I should really make a mock-up first because I'm going to significantly alter the pattern from the size small to a size that will fit me. So here's what I have, what I'm working with. These are all of the main pieces for view 3 here, and I think I can make it work, and I'll just, well, I might still be able to get the strap, but I'm not worried about it if I can't. I can use ribbon or something else. So I have measured around my underbust, which is what this pattern piece is. It's this band here that goes around the full length of the bottom of the piece. So I need a 36-inch band, and it's supposed to be cut 2. So basically I need each of them to be 18 inches with an overlap for the buttonholes. So here's 18 inches, I can just go another like inch and I can just cut that there, and then I can use all of this piece to make this bigger. And I think it mostly needs to get bigger this way. So this is the dart at the bottom of the bust. And I've been measuring myself. I know I need to add at least a couple of inches to the length. I don't think I need to add height, but I might give myself a little bit extra just in case. And then with this piece, which is the back, this gets attached to here, and that extends out. This is the center front. That's the bust dart. Here's where the strap gets attached. I know I'm looking at this all weird, but that's just how the fabric is laid out right now. And before I cut anything, I do need to iron this better and get it, you know, nice and flat. So this piece, I think I'm just going to cut it as is, but then extend it by cutting another strip from here and just make it longer that way. I might also make it a little bit wider and taper it more gradually. I don't know. I'm going to play with it, but I think I'm going to make adjustments to my pattern and draw them on newsprint. I have a lot of paper that I can use, and then cut them out from this navy blue, very stable cotton broadcloth. It's also very lightweight, and then I can use this as both my mock-up and my lining for the actual top, because it does need to be lined. I don't need to cut this piece out of the lining, just this one and this one. So I have enough to get that. And yeah, go for it, see what happens. Okay, it is the next day and I have gotten some progress done. I have been trying on the mock-up I made of the bra top, which is why I'm currently in my dressing gown. So let me show you what I've done. So I have traced but also expanded each of the pieces to give myself, you know, more room. Okay, let's do this in a way that makes more sense. So as you can see, I have extended the center back and also the band, hopefully to match. I'm gonna have to make changes, so I can always adjust the pattern as needed, obviously. So this attaches to here, and rather than making this any bigger, because I didn't make this any taller, I just scooted this over and made it taller a little bit, and then just, you know, expanded it basically. So now I have cut out the lining layer and put it together and tried it on. I do not have footage of that. And here's where we are after the first try on. I just pinned approximately where the darts would be. I didn't bother actually marking them on my new pattern because I knew I was going to have to adjust them anyway. I also ended up taking in a little bit in a dart here at the top. This part gets scrunched up. It actually gets gathered with a little drawstring according to the original pattern, so that's what I'm going to do. And when I did scrunch it up, it fit much better on me. When it was up like this, it was very loose up at the top, so that was an important thing to do. And then I also just drew with some tailor's chalk on the underbust where I have way too much fabric underneath. I don't need it to be that tall. And then I also marked with the same chalk where the pin was when I lapped the edges and pinned them together. So that was like this, which tells me that I have extra room in the back to play with, which is good. Overall, I made this top larger than it needs to be, which is what I was trying to do, so I can always take it in and make the adjustments. It's much easier to make something smaller than it is to make something bigger. So now I'm going to make those adjustments. I think I'm going to move this little dart down here and just take out the equivalent amount in the side seam instead of having a dart up there. I don't think that would look nice. Then I will sew these darts, try it back on, and see where we go from there. Oh, and I also marked the darts with the chalk so that I can, you know, even them out and then also transfer them to the pattern when I am ready. Okay, I have made those alterations, took in the side seam at the top, put in the darts, and that worked great. I think it's going to fit really well, and now I can take this apart and make the changes to my pattern. But first, I'm going to take a break and go eat some lunch. I did not realize it was after 1 o'clock, and I have not eaten anything today except some goldfish crackers that I have out here for snacking. So, I'm gonna get dressed and go do that. Okay, I am back from lunch, and I only have about 20 minutes left before I need to go pick up my kids from school, so not a lot of time, but that's okay. We are making progress. I took out one of the darts so that I could lay the piece flat and make the changes to the pattern piece, and it's not a lot. The changes are not dramatic, but that's all it really needed. This pattern was almost already perfect, so pretty pleased with that. Okay, and I have managed to fit both of my pieces onto my remaining scrap, and I just had to avoid this tear in the fabric. And I figured out that I could just flip this piece over. I was trying to fit it, you know, the other way, and then I ran into this here. I just flipped it over, and it fits perfectly, so yay! I love a small scrap-busting project. I'm gonna make more of these. This is fun. For the straps, this is the strap pattern piece here. I'm not going to use it except for as a guide for length, which I just needed to make sure these pieces were at least that long, and I can cut them down to whatever size I need them to be to make it fit. I just cut 2 strips from the selvage edge, which was also the seam allowance of the petticoat. And because I don't want it to be any narrower than the actual selvage, what I'm going to do is sew this ribbon along the edge, covering the raw edge, and then fold it to the inside, and then I'll probably hand tack it down. So this will be on the inside of the strap, and the outside will just look like a strip of fabric. Okay, it's been a couple days and I have made some progress. I have done the darts and the center seam of the top front of the bra, and I have decided to interface the band sections because I feel like these are going to take some strain and I want them to be nice and stable. And when I was attaching the interfacing, I first pinned it along one long edge, and then I folded this piece in half because that's how it's going to end up with the finished band, and pinned along the other side so that I would build in this little bit of excess of the fabric not in the interfacing, because if I just put them flat against each other and then folded them as one, the interfacing would get a little bit of a bubble in it and it would end up making a weird fold on the inside. And this way I'm hoping it will stay nice and smooth because that fabric will have just a little bit of ease to go around the fold of the interfacing. So I'm pretty much ready to assemble this bra, but I also got a little bit carried away. And I went ahead and traced and enlarged the pieces for style 4, which I want to make next, and style 2, which I did not have current plans to make, but now I really want to try it out and see how that looks. Which had me raid my scraps of random cotton fabrics, and I came up with these two, which I think would be cute as this top. I can't decide if I want the blue stripe to be on the bottom and the pink on the top, or switch it. I know either way I want the ends that go around the back to be the stripe, but yeah, I can't decide. I'm not going to make that right now, but I really want to try it. I haven't enlarged the pieces for style 1 yet, but I will probably do that eventually too. Oh, I should also interface the waistband of the shorts, because that is going to be a stress point. The pattern doesn't actually have the shorts as its own piece. It has the Playsuit built as one, so it's an inset belt, not an actual waistband, and it doesn't have to actually keep the shorts up, because the shirt portion of the Playsuit is supposed to keep the shorts up. So I'm going to interface it, give it some strength, and go from there. Okay. Okay, it's been a few days since I've updated you on the shorts. I have 2 legs, and I've started doing the flat felled seams. You can see where they're pinned here. I figured flat felled seams would be the way to go with this linen fabric. I want it to be really well finished on the inside and comfortable against my skin. These are going to be very breezy shorts. This fabric is very thin, but I'm pretty excited for them. Now, I'm not extending the flat felled seams down into the hem because I don't need the extra bulk. It doesn't need to be finished inside there. So I just marked the fold line for the hem up 1.5 inches according to the pattern. And then I clipped the seam allowance in at that point so that when I fold it, there won't be a lot of bulk right in the same spot. So the seam allowance will just stay pressed open inside the hem. I really like doing flat felled seams. I find them sort of meditative to cut and press and pin and sew, and I'm always just so pleased with the end results. It's always worth it for me. And especially on a fabric like this that's a little delicate, I think it helps give some extra stability to the seam because now each seam is being sewn twice. And it also gives a really nice finished look. Oh, and I did try these on. Well, I tried on one pant leg when it was all sewn together before I started flat felling the seams, just to make sure it was actually going to fit. And it is. So I'm going ahead with the finishing. Once I'm done sewing all of the seams down, I can put the 2 legs together Then add the waistband and do the buttons and buttonholes, and then hem it, and they're done. And then as far as the top goes, I just need to press these seam allowances open and then sandwich the 2 layers together, add the band around the underbust and the straps and buttons and buttonholes, and then that's done. Okay, so we're leaving for Hawaii tomorrow, which means I need to finish my sewing today so that I can pack this evening. And I have 2 legs of the shorts. They're done. They have flat filled seams, and now I need to attach them together and do the front button fly. Now the instructions do not say to use interfacing, but this fabric is very flimsy, so I am going to interface the front button facing. And my mom suggested I use fusible interfacing. I don't have any fusible interfacing. I do have this one-sided pressure-sensitive fusible web. And because the fabric is very lightweight, I don't want heavy interfacing at all. And I have a little baggie of dryer sheets that I saved from years and years ago when I used to use dryer sheets, and I'm going to use these as interfacing. Okay, we're auditioning buttons for the shorts. I need 3, and this is what I had in my stash that I was thinking about. And then my mom brought some options. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned in this video that my mom is visiting. I know I mentioned it in another video that's coming out probably after this one. Anyway, my mom's here, and she brought me some buttons for another project, which is the other video. But I think I like these. Might go with that. Okay, the shorts are done, except for the buttons, and I also still need to open up and tack down the facing of the bound buttonholes, but I have tried them on. They fit, they are comfy, they are very breezy. You can see the light through both layers. It's okay. They're gonna be really comfy for Hawaii. So now I just need to finish the bra top. Okay, I have a bra top thing. It fits largely. My mom helped me pin in a couple of little darts at the sides. There was just some extra room, and it's done with all the machine sewing. I even did buttonholes. I couldn't do bound buttonholes on this one just because of the way it was constructed. And now I just need to open the buttonholes. Also need to open the buttonholes on the shorts and do the facing part on the inside, and then sew on the buttons, and then they're done! Yay! So I'll see you in Hawaii. Hello, I am back from Hawaii. I had a wonderful time. I got to go snorkeling. I have no photos of that. So I did end up wearing the Playsuit on my first full day in Hawaii. I got up early in the morning because jet lag woke me up at 3:30 a.m. So by the time the sun was up, I was ready to start my day, and I had brought my laptop along, so I did some video editing on the lanai wearing my new Playsuit. And I wore it to explore Waikiki a little bit. I went to a bookstore a little ways away from the beach. It was called The Shop. It was a really nice, really quiet, orderly bookstore, and I had a good time checking out all of the different local authors and Hawaiian cookbooks. The children's section was really nice too. I got my kids a couple books. I forgot to mention, I also picked up this book for myself because I needed a beach read. And then in the afternoon, I changed into my swimsuit and spent the rest of the day at the beach, which was really nice. But I did also end up wearing the shorts 2 more days. I wore them over my swimsuit when I went on a boat to go snorkeling out in the ocean. Ended up snorkeling at a reef. That was really cool. And I realized I hadn't packed anything to wear over my swimsuit, so just grabbed those shorts again and they worked fine. And then I ended up wearing them under my dress on the last day in Hawaii because my thighs were not happy with all of the walking I was doing and I needed something to prevent chafing. So I wore the shorts 3 days in a row. And they were great, they're comfy. I think I will definitely be making this pattern again. I'm going to make the shirt, obviously. I'm going to make the dress. I talked about those earlier. And I think I am also going to make more pairs of the shorts. I'm going to have a look through my fabric stash and see what I can find. Because they're really good shorts and I'm going to need some for this summer. It is hot. I got home and it's already 10 degrees hotter than it was in Hawaii. I'm dying. And I do still want to finish that other striped linen top to go with these shorts and play around with the other patterns. So that will probably be a future video. And I think that's all I have for now. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye. It also says, where did I see that? I swear I read it somewhere on this pattern and now cannot find it anywhere. Oh, here it is. Okay. Focus, please.